The knock came low and patient, not frantic, not soft, just 3 steady thuds like someone knew the weight of the wood, knew who lived behind it. Elias Gable set the blade down on the counter, wiped his hands on his trousers, and glanced at the empty chair across the table. He hadn't set the plate tonight. No point. Another knock, same rhythm, same weight. He opened the door. The man standing there had one arm and a coat too big for him. His left sleeve was pinned at the shoulder with a rusted safety pin. Snow melted slowly on his collar. His boots were damp but not muddy, eyes pale and dry. "You alone?" the man asked. Elias didn't answer, just stared. The man shifted his weight. "Ain't asking for trouble, just warmth. A place to rest." Elias looked out past him. Nothing. No mule, no wagon. Just the hush of cold and the lean of dusk. Then back at the man. "Are you local?" "Was. A long time ago." "You sleep in town." "No one in town remembers me." Elias nodded once. "Got stew." "Stew'll do." He stepped aside. The man walked in like he'd already been there once. The wood stove snapped. The room smelled of pine ash and bitter onion. The man's coat gave off the scent of sap and wet bark, like he'd been standing in a grove too long. "Take your boots off," Elias said. The man sat slow, boots scraped off quiet, tucked by the door. Elias filled 2 bowls, slid one across the table. "Ain't much salt in it." "Salt's for people with time." They ate. Silence took most of the space between them. The stranger chewed slowly, eyes not on the food, but the fireplace, like he was watching something in it no one else could see. Elias cleared his throat. "What's your name?" "Tomas." "Tomas what?" "Just Tomas." Elias leaned back. "What happened to your arm?" "Cut wood too long. Forgot which side of the blade I was on." "Is that supposed to be a joke?" Thomas shrugged. "Supposed to be something." They didn't laugh. Outside, the wind dragged something across the porch. Maybe a branch. Maybe not. Thomas glanced toward the sound but didn't flinch. "Has your wife gone long?" Elias stiffened. "Why do you ask that?" Empty chair. Dust around the edges. Elias didn't answer. "Will she die or leave?" "She died." "When?" "A few winters back." "You bury her close." Elias's jaw twitched. "Back hill." Thomas nodded like he already knew. "You from this part?" Elias asked. "Not anymore." "That's not what I asked." Thomas looked up. "I remember this place. That's enough." "Do you remember this house?" "I remember how the door sounds, and the squeak in that back step." Elias pushed his chair back. The scrape echoed. "Have you been here before?" Thomas met his stare. "I said I remember. Didn't say how." The wood stove ticked again. The air inside turned still. Elias stood, gathered the bowls, scraped what was left into the bin. "Got a roll in the corner," he said. "Ain't much cushion." "I've slept on tree roots. This'll do." Elias moved toward the back, paused in the kitchen doorway. "Don't touch anything." "I ain't a thief." "You're something." Thomas didn't reply. Elias went to the pantry, pulled down the old tin, poured a finger of the cheap stuff, then another, sat in the chair by the fire, the one Miriam used to sit in. He watched the stranger curl up on the floor. I watched the man lay his head down like he'd done it before. Elias drank slowly. "You say people don't remember you," Elias said. Thomas didn't open his eyes. "That's right." "I don't like that." "You don't have to." The wind picked up. Boards groaned overhead. Elias stared at the floor where the firelight danced across the boards. Then he saw it, near the hearth, etched faint into the old pine floor. The letters weren't new, but they weren't old either, like they'd been scratched slowly by someone who knew where to place them, how deep to press. M-I-R-I-A-M. His mouth dried. The glass stilled in his hand. He didn't speak. The fire kept burning. Thomas breathed deep, slow, steady. Elias leaned forward, touched the carving. It was real. His wife's name. On the floor she never touched after that night. He looked at Thomas sleeping. Still. Too still. "Miriam," Elias whispered. Thomas stirred, didn't open his eyes. "You said she's dead." "She is." "No, she ain't." Elias stood. Fast. "What did you say?" Thomas didn't answer. Elias crossed the room, stood over him. "What do you know?" Thomas opened one eye. "I know you buried someone." Elias's voice dropped. You're gonna tell me what the hell that means." Thomas closed his eyes again. "In the morning. You tell me now." But the man was already asleep, or pretending to be, breathing deep, still smelling like sap. Elias stared at the mark again. Miriam. Fresh. Cut deep. And not by any blade he owned. The stew cooled untouched. The man sat across from Elias but didn't reach for the spoon. Just kept his hand resting on the table. The other arm, the missing one, was folded against his ribs, sleeve pinned closed like a secret. "You gonna eat?" Elias asked. "I said stewed do. Didn't say I was hungry." "You're not?" "Not tonight." "Then why knock?" "Didn't come for food." "What did you come for?" The man didn't answer, just looked into the fire again like it was talking to him. Elias's jaw twitched. He took a bite, swallowed it dry. The room was too quiet for chewing. "You always just watch folks eat." "I've watched worse." "Is that a threat?" "No." Elias kept his eyes on him. "You talk like you know things." "Maybe I do." "You said your name was Thomas." "That's what I said." "But it's not." Thomas blinked, slow. "You sure?" "No one named Thomas stares at a fire like that." "Is that so?" "Yeah." They sat there, 2 chairs, 1 table, firelight flickering across scarred walls. "You think I'm lying?" The man said. "I think you know more than you're saying." "About what?" "About her." Thomas didn't flinch. "Who?" "Miriam. You think she carved her own name into the floor. I know how her hands shook. She couldn't cut bread without nicking herself." "Then who did?" "You tell me." "I'm just a traveler." "You're not." "Then what am I?" Elias stood up, chair groaning against the boards. "You're someone who came here on purpose. You invited me in." "I offered supper. That's different." The man leaned back, not afraid, just watching. "You ask a lot of questions for someone who buried his wife with no preacher, no witness, and no stone. You've been snooping." "I was remembering." Elias's brow tightened. "That's not the same as knowing." "It's close. You're walking a tight line." "Maybe I lost my balance already." Elias slammed his hand on the table. "Say her name." "I just did." "Say it like you knew her." Silence. Then, "Miriam used to hum to herself when she boiled potatoes." Elias froze. "She had a scar behind her ear from a comb that snapped when she was 6. She kept quiet during storms. Always slept light. Called you L when she was tired." Elias sat down slowly. "You were gone a lot," Thomas said. "Working, trading, prepping for land bids." "I didn't leave her on purpose." "Doesn't change what happened." "You talk like you were here." "I was." "When?" "When she needed someone." "You lie." "I listened. That's all." Elias's throat worked, but no words came. Thomas leaned forward. "You didn't ask her how she felt. You just figured she was fine." "She never said anything." "She did. You just didn't hear it." Elias looked at the bowl again. The steam was gone. "Why'd you really come?" he said. "I told you." "Number you dodged it." Tomas's eyes didn't move from the fire. "I came to finish something." "What?" "A promise." "To her?" "To the truth." Elias let out a slow breath. "You're not Thomas." "No." "What's your name?" The man hesitated. Elias watched him close. "Say it." "Samuel." Elias blinked. "That's not a name I know." "It's one she whispered." "When?" "The night you found her in the shed, after she bled through her dress, and you said it was the weather making her sick." "You were there?" "I held her after you walked out." "You son of a—" "She said don't hate him, said he was too proud to see it." Elias stood, fists clenched. "You think I didn't love her?" "I think love doesn't count if it can't hear screaming." The room went still. The wind outside scratched the siding like fingernails. The fire hissed, low and steady. Elias sat back down, heavy. "You still should have knocked louder." "I did." They stared at the hearth again. After a long pause, Elias said, "Where's she buried?" "You mean the real grave?" Elias's breath caught. "What do you mean?" "You buried what they gave you, what the sheriff handed over, a body in a sack and a paper that said natural causes. You never opened it." "That's not true." "You want to dig it up?" Elias didn't answer. Thomas Samuel stood up, moved toward the fire. He still didn't eat. "You'll have to choose," he said. "Choose what?" believing what they told you, or believing her. You don't know what I've been through. She knew, and she still waited for you. Elias swallowed. I tried to be good to her. Try not to undo silence. Samuel turned from the fire. I'll sleep outside tonight. There's space on the floor. I ain't here to make you feel better. Elias didn't argue. At the door, Samuel paused. You carved her name. Samuel didn't turn. I just finished what she started. He stepped into the dark. Elias stayed in his chair. The fire crackled, and somewhere under the table, the floor still whispered her name. Elias waited until the wind stopped brushing the door, until the fire burned low, until the man, Samuel, or whoever the hell he really was, went still beneath the old quilt, chest rising slowly, like a man with no guilt left in him. Then he poured another inch of whiskey, the kind Miriam said tasted like dirt and pine needles. She never drank, just sniffed and scowled. He paced slowly, back and forth, heel to toe. The boards creaked in places she used to avoid when he slept. She'd walk light then, like she didn't want to wake whatever part of him she couldn't name. The glass emptied fast. He refilled. The stranger hadn't eaten a damn bite, just sat and talked like a ghost who never needed stew or sleep or shelter. Elias watched the back of his head now, the stilled shape under the quilt, one arm rising and falling with breath. That was it. He turned again, then stopped. The hearth flickered. A log shifted with a hiss. The shadows bent sharp, and for 1 second he saw it again. He stepped closer. The light licked across the wood, catching shallow grooves just beside the old braided rug. His boots stayed still. His hands didn't. He crouched, touched the floor. Miriam, carved into the board like a whisper that couldn't die. Not old, not faded. Still pale in the middle, like the cut was clean. Fresh. Elias ran his thumb over it. The edges scraped soft against skin. He stood, stepped back, stared at it like it could blink. You see it now, the man said. Elias turned. I thought you were asleep. Samuel pushed the quilt off. You knew I wasn't. You do this? No. Then who? She did. Elias swallowed. She's gone. Samuel sat up, slow. You sure? I buried her. You buried what they gave you. You think they lied? I don't think so. I know. Elias pointed to the floor. Why now? Why tonight? You let me in. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to. Elias looked down again. It's her handwriting. I know. You saw her do this? No. Then how? I've seen it before, on an old beam near the trail. Same curve on the M. Same soft tail at the end. She carved her name out in the woods. She carved it where she was left. Elias's fists clenched. She never left. She was taken. By who? You want the real answer? I want the truth. The sheriff said she died naturally, said he found her too late. You believe that? I believe the sheriff owns too many graves. Elias turned away. You talk too much for a man who doesn't eat. Samuel stood. And you listen too little for a man who lost something. She didn't talk to me near the end. She tried. I didn't hear. You didn't want to. Elias moved to the cabinet, poured again. You got a lot of nerve. She had none left. He slammed the glass down. You think I don't regret it? I think you regret the silence more than the loss. The fire cracked. Elias stared at it long. Why here? She remembered this place. This place killed her. This place kept her. Elias laughed once, bitter. You talk like you knew her better than me. I listened. To what? To the way she folded her sleeves, the way she hesitated before saying your name, the nights she stood on the porch and didn't go inside. She was tired. She was drowning. Elias shook his head. You were just a shadow. I was what she trusted. Elias crossed the room, stood nose to nose. You love her? No. Then why stay? Because she never left. They stood quiet. The fire is low, the name between them. You sleep now, Elias said. I don't need to. I said sleep. Samuel looked once more at the name on the floor. Are you going to dig her up? If I have to. You'll find it empty. You sure? I saw the hole before it was filled. Elias's voice cracked. You didn't stop it. I didn't know who was in the sack until the lid closed. Elias looked down. You watched her die. No. Then what? I heard her voice after. Where? Under the tree near the ridge. The one with the shallow roots. She talked to you. She sang. Elias backed up, suddenly small. You expect me to believe this? No. Then why say it? Because you came to the edge once. I saw you, axe in hand. Then I turned back. Elias nodded slowly. I remember. You said it was too late, but she heard you. I didn't say her name. You whispered it. Elias looked down at the floor again. Miriam, carved clear. Waiting. Like a story told in silence. Samuel sat back down. She wants it known. What? That she didn't vanish. She was taken. That she called for help. That no one answered. Elias stared at him. What do I do now? Start listening. The wind came back. Just once. This time it didn't feel cold. Elias stepped into the room just after dawn. The fire had burned down to ash. The quilt lay flat, cold, empty. The man was gone. He didn't take his boots. Didn't leave a note. Just vanished like smoke through a cracked board. Elias kicked the bedroll aside. Coward. He grabbed his coat off the hook, jerked it on. The whiskey still sat on the counter, half full. He didn't touch it. His hands were steady now. He stormed outside. The frost hadn't lifted. The barn leaned in the half-light like it always did. He walked past it, to the fence, to the tool rack, reached behind the stacked wire and pulled out the old shovel. It was hers. The same one he used that morning. The same one he told himself he'd never touch again. The wood handle felt heavier. He didn't care. The hill behind the house hadn't changed. Grass hadn't grown right since the burying. The stone marker was crooked from last season's flood. He stared at it. Miriam, gable wife. Quiet heart, taken too soon. He spit beside it. You weren't quiet, he said. You just gave up trying to be heard. He dug. Hard, fast. Hands blistered quickly. The blade struck frozen soil, roots, rocks. But he kept going. When his arms trembled, he kept going. When the sun broke past the clouds, he kept going. 6 feet wasn't deep enough. He hit the coffin. It wasn't full size. The sheriff had said they found what they could. Fire, he said. Or maybe animals. Maybe both. Elias hadn't looked. He hadn't wanted to. Now he did. He pried the lid open. It was empty. No bones, no cloth. Just dust and a torn burlap sack. Elias stood still. The wind picked up. Then he heard it. A branch breaking maybe. Or a footstep. Somewhere down by the ridge. He turned. Scanned the tree line. Come out. No answer. I said come out. Still nothing. You tell me she's not in there, then vanish. You watch me dig like a dog. Leaves shifted in the far brush. Elias raised the shovel. You think this is funny? Silence. You think I don't believe you now? Then the voice came low from the trees. I wanted you to see it. Elias turned hard. Then say it to my face. The man stepped out. Same coat, same sleeve pinned at the shoulder. You weren't ready, he said. I was ready the day she died. No, you were grieving. I buried an empty box. You buried your guilt. Elias pointed the shovel at him. You think this is justice? No. Then what the hell is it? Truth. Elias dropped the blade. Where is she? Samuel didn't speak. Where? She's somewhere you never looked. Elias stepped toward him. I looked everywhere. No, you waited. For what? For her to come back. Elias clenched his fists. Say where she is. She walked east. Alone. Not the whole way. You were with her? I saw her the night she left. She was bleeding. Why didn't you bring her back? She didn't want to come back. Elias stepped back like struck. You're lying. She was running. From who? Samuel looked him dead in the eye. From what was done, not just to her, to the others. What others? She wasn't the first. Elias's voice dropped. She never told me. She tried. Then why come now? Because someone else is carving names. Elias froze. Who? Samuel stepped closer. Her sister. She didn't have a sister. She had a name she stopped saying. Lydia. Elias searched the man's face. I remember Lydia. She remembers you too. She left when she was 12. She came back last winter, quiet, poor. The sheriff turned her away. Elias looked at the grave again. You know where she went? She left markings, same as Miriam. Elias picked up the shovel. Then show me. I will. Now. Tonight. Elias gritted his teeth. Why not now? Because graves don't talk in daylight. Samuel turned. Elias didn't stop him. He looked once more at the coffin, now filled with nothing but guilt, and this time he didn't cover it back up. Elias rode into town just past noon, shirt still damp with dirt and sweat. He tied his horse outside the station, boots hitting the ground heavy. The sheriff's door was open as always. Same warped plank, same crack through the glass that had been there since the fire 10 years back. He stepped in. Sheriff Hale didn't look up. "Coffee's fresh." "I didn't come for coffee." "Didn't say you did." Elias stood quiet. Hale poured 2 cups anyway, slid one across the desk without meeting his eyes. "You dig her up?" Elias didn't move. "I said, I dug." Hale took a sip. "And the box was empty." "Is that so?" "You know it was." Hale set the mug down slowly. "You're accusing me of something, Gable." "I'm asking why you handed me a grave full of burlap." "You didn't ask questions then." "I'm asking now." Hale leaned back. "Too late. I want the truth." "You want comfort." Elias stepped forward. "I want to know where she went." "I told you. She wandered off." "She was hurt. She was unstable. She was pregnant." Hale's face tightened. "She lost it." "She told you that?" "She didn't need to." "Have you ever spoken to her after she vanished?" "No." "You sure?" "I'm the one who organized the search." Elias lowered his voice. "That search lasted 2 days. She wasn't hard to lose. You said she was found near the creek." "She was." "With no clothes?" "It's what happens when a body's out too long. There was no blood. There was rot." Elias clenched his jaw. "You zipped the bag yourself?" "I signed the report." "I didn't see a report." "You didn't ask." "You think I trust you now?" "You never had to." Elias stared at him. "Why'd she run?" Hale didn't answer. "She was afraid. She was tired. She was hiding." "From what?" "You tell me." Hale's eyes flicked to the window. "This ain't a story you want reopened." "I opened it." "You dig deep enough. Things crawl out." "I'm not afraid of dirt." "You should be." Elias leaned in. "I think you knew." "Knew what?" "That she didn't just wander." Hale stood. "She was unstable, Elias. Everyone knew it. She talked to herself. I didn't sleep. She walked barefoot through the frost. She was hurting. She was breaking." Elias stepped back. "Have you ever touched her?" "What did you say?" "You heard me." Hale's voice turned sharp. "Get out. Answer me. You want to swing at me, do it, but you best aim to finish." Elias's hands didn't move. "She came to you for help." "She came to me too late." "Was she the only one?" Hale's mouth twitched. "I found her name carved into my floor." "She carved it herself." "It was fresh." "You think she came back from the dead?" "I think someone wants me to look." Hale walked around the desk, stood in front of Elias, coffee still in hand. "If you dig in those woods long enough, you'll find what you don't want. Tell me what's buried." Hale didn't blink. "You married a woman who held on too much. Then it broke her. You covered it. I moved on." "She didn't." "Maybe she should have." Elias stepped out of reach. "You're still lying." Hale drank the rest of his cup. "I'm done talking." Elias moved to the door. "Don't come back," Hale said. "You don't come near my land." Hale smiled dry. "I don't come that far anyhow." "Stay that way." As Elias stepped outside, the heat felt wrong. The sun is too still. He walked to his horse, mounted slowly. From the porch, Hale called after him. "You dig long enough, you're going to smell what they buried." Elias didn't look back. "Already do." Elias didn't sleep that night, just sat by the hearth with the shovel leaned beside him, the fire gone to ash. He kept staring at the place on the floor where her name still lived. Sharp, clean, not a splinter raised. By first light, he was in the shed, tying his boots tight. The woods weren't forgiving. He strapped his coat, slung the shotgun, and took the trail east behind the barn, where the frost stayed late, and the trees leaned in like they remembered too much. The man had said she walked east, not alone, not the whole way. By noon, the path split. He went left, following an old deer run, and then he saw it. A tree, broad and cracked at the base, bore a carved shape near the root. 2 axes, blades crossing like bones. Old, faded, but still there. Fresh enough that no bark had grown over it. He knelt down, brushed moss off the groove, the same symbol that sat beside her name on the floor. He looked up. The trees beyond grew tighter. He followed. The second mark came 20 minutes later, carved into a white pine with blackened limbs. Same axes, same angle. Then a third, half hidden beneath a peel of bark, each one deeper in, each one older. He kept moving. By the fourth, the air changed. Quieter, heavier. No birds. Just the creak of branches and the crunch of leaves under his boots. He stepped over a rotted fence post into a clearing half swallowed by time. An old cabin sunk into the ground, slumped against itself. Roof caved. The door is missing. He approached slowly, pushed the door frame open with the barrel of the shotgun. Inside, nothing moved. Dust. Empty shelves. A chair with 3 legs. A bed frame without a mattress. And a carving across the back wall. Same crossed axes. Big, bold, angry. He stepped closer. Beneath it, more names. Cut into the wood one after another. He traced them with his hand. Ada, Ruth, Clara, Miriam. All women. All carved by the same hand. He stepped back out. Looked up at the trees around the cabin. More marks. Dozens. Elias. He spun, gun raised. Samuel stood at the edge of the clearing, coat open, unarmed. The wind didn't touch him. "You follow me?" Elias asked. "You followed her. You knew I'd come here." "I hoped. What is this place?" "Where they went when no one else listened." "Is this some kind of hideout?" "It was supposed to be a shelter." "For who?" "For the ones the sheriff hurt." Elias froze. "You said Miriam wasn't the first." "She wasn't, and she wasn't alone." Elias lowered the gun. "These other names, they were here for a time. What happened to them?" "Same thing that happened to her. Silence." "You ran this place?" "Number Y built it. She kept it. She, Lydia." "Miriam's sister?" "She kept it as long as she could." "Where is she now?" "Gone. Not buried. Not found." Elias looked at the names again. "Why the mark?" "She made it, to keep track." "Of what? How many never made it back?" Elias's throat tightened. "You said Miriam walked here." "She did. Not the first time, but the last." "You helped her?" "I tried." "Why didn't she stay?" "She wanted you to know." "Know what?" "That she didn't run. She was pushed." Elias stared at the wall. "Carving on the floor. She left that before she left the house." "How?" "Same way she left these. One cut at a time." Elias sat on the steps outside. The wood was soft, but it held. "I never asked where she went in the mornings," he said. "Just figured she needed space. She needed safety. I thought giving her quiet was enough." "Quiet isn't peace." Elias rubbed his hands together. "The sheriff did this?" "Some of it." "Who else?" "Men who wore the same badge. Men who drank with him." "She tried to tell me once." "I know. I shut her down." "I know that too." Elias looked up. "You still think there's justice?" "No." "Then what's left?" "Witness." They sat without speaking. A crow called once far off. "She was strong," Elias said. "She was." "She came here in pain?" "She came here with purpose." "I thought she broke." "She built." Elias looked at the marks again. "How many names do you reckon this cabin could hold?" "Too many." He stood, faced the trees. "There's more out there." Samuel nodded. "The trail goes further, but it fades. Then we follow it." Samuel stepped beside him. "It'll hurt." "It already does." They left the clearing behind. The woodcutter's mark stayed, quiet and sharp, and Miriam's name watched them go. Elias came back from the ridge, cold in the chest. The sun had dropped behind the trees. The shadows were long, firewood stacked wrong. The porch creaked like it hadn't in weeks. He didn't go inside. Instead, he walked around the side of the house. Gravel shifted beneath his boots. The smokehouse leaned behind the old chicken run, half collapsed but still standing, like it was too stubborn to rot. He hadn't opened it in 2 years. The latch stuck, same as always. He kicked it. It gave. Hinges shrieked like they remembered pain. Inside, the air hung thick. Salt. Hide. A rusted hook spun slowly above the beam. The place still smelled of animals and winter, and something beneath all that. Linen. Something stitched. He lit a match, held it high. The far wall held the same piles. Buckets, ropes, a half-split yoke, and behind them, bundled in muslin tied at the corners like something kept safe. He pulled it out, set it down, unwrap it. A quilt, soft, full of handwork. The kind Miriam made only when her hands weren't shaking. It was unfinished. One side hemmed, the other is still loose thread. Elias sank to his knees, ran his palm over it. No dust, no mold, just warmth, like it had been set there that morning. He turned the corner. There were initials, tiny, delicate, sewn near the base. LM, he blinked. Not his, not Miriam's, not anything he knew. He stared harder. LM. Lydia, he whispered. Behind him, the door creaked. He didn't turn. You put this here? He asked. No, Samuel said. How long's it been here? I don't know. Why here? She said it was the only place that didn't lie. Elias touched the fabric again. It's clean. She came back. When? A few weeks before winter. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have listened? Elias stood. Why didn't she bring it inside? She wasn't ready. Ready for what? To be seen. He looked down at the initials again. So she was here. Samuel stepped inside. Not just her. You mean Lydia? Samuel nodded. Does this belong to her? It was theirs. The women. Yes. Elias breathed shallow. They made these? One each before they left. Left for where? No one knows. He ran his hand down the stitch line. This one was Miriam's? Yes. How do you know? She bled on it. Elias froze. What? Right here. Samuel pointed to a faint rust mark near the seam. She stitched through the pain. Why keep it here? It was hers, and it wasn't. She never told me. She couldn't. Elias looked up. Because of me. Because of the house. He wrapped the quilt up. Not tight, just careful. I used to think she was soft, Elias said. She wasn't. I thought she broke easily. She bent. She bled. She didn't break. The match burned out. Elias let the dark settle in. She sewed when she was anxious, he whispered. Said it helped her think. I know. You were here too. For a while. Why'd you leave? Sheriff came sniffing. Elias gritted his teeth. Has he ever found this? No. He would have burned it. He tried once. The others stopped him. How many were here? More than you want to know. Elias leaned against the wall. She hid all this from me. She protected it. I didn't deserve her. No. He looked up. But you might still deserve to carry her name, Samuel added. I thought I already did. Not yet. The wind pressed through the walls. Elias stepped out of the smokehouse. Hold the quilt in both arms. I'm taking it inside. She meant it to be found. He walked to the porch, climbed the steps, opened the door. The fire inside was low. The chair is still empty. He placed the quilt across it. Smooth. Careful. It fit like it always had. Like it knew where it belonged. Elias sat on the church steps with mud on his boots and wood ash in his sleeves. The bell tower above him had long since gone silent. The rope cut after some boy hung himself from it years back. The town didn't like to be remembered. Most things here weren't meant to be remembered. He heard the footsteps before he saw her. She came from the side alley, not the front. Brown coat, sharp boots, hat pulled low. She walked like she knew how men looked at her and how to make them stop. She didn't smile. Elias. He stood slow. Lydia. You remember me? Didn't recognize you at first. Been a while. You're taller. You're quieter. He gestured to the steps. She didn't sit. What are you doing back? He asked. Looking. For what? What got buried? I've done some digging. I heard. She looked around once like checking the air for spies. I saw her, Lydia said. Elias's stomach turned. Miriam. She came to me. When? The night she disappeared. He stepped closer. Where? My father's barn. She came to your father. Number to me. She was bleeding. From what? Lydia blinked hard. She didn't say. Did you ask? I tried. She said not to tell. Tell who? Anyone. Elias's hands clenched. What else? She was holding a bundle, like cloth. She sat on the hay and just kept staring at the rafters. Said she needed time. And your father? He came in. What did he say? He said to go inside. And you did. I was 12. Then what? I looked through the cracks. Elias stared at her. I saw him. Who? The man with one arm. Elias didn't speak. He was standing by the door, just watching. You sure? I remember the sleeve. Elias breathed shallow. What did your father do? Yelled at him. Did he touch her? I don't know. Did she leave with him? She ran out the back. Did your father follow? No. Why not? Lydia looked down. He locked the barn. Why? Said she needed cooling off. Elias's jaw clenched. He lied. He always did. Why tell me now? I found her stitching in our attic. My mother hid it. She was sewing. Blood on the fabric. I found the same. I thought it was over. It never was. She stepped forward. He told me to forget. Said it wasn't my place. It was. He said she was dangerous. She wasn't. She was trying to speak. She always was. Lydia looked out at the field beyond the chapel. I used to hear her name in the wind. Elias swallowed. Me too. Now it's louder. She's not done. Lydia nodded. Neither are we. He looked at her. Are you still afraid of your father? I'm not 12 anymore. You believe he did it? I believe he watched it happen. You think he buried her? No. Then who? Lydia's eyes met his. Who else had the shovel? Elias felt the weight of the truth press down. I want to find her, he said. She's in pieces. She deserves to be whole. So do you. He looked back at the church. She came to you, he said. She trusted me. She never told me. She didn't know how. Elias looked down. I didn't either. They stood in silence. Come with me, he said. To the ridge. To where her name still lives. Lydia adjusted her coat. I have already been there. What did you see? Everything I wasn't supposed to. Did you see Samuel? She nodded. He doesn't age. He won't forget. Neither do I. Elias stepped off the church steps. Then we go together. Tonight? Yes. She's waiting? She's been waiting. Lydia looked up at the sky, then followed. The first crack came like a back-breaking breath. Then the windows blew. Elias didn't see it at first, just smelled it. The smoke came fast, heavy, and bitter. The kind that eats old wood. The kind that doesn't wait. He stepped outside with his coat half-buttoned, bare hands already black with soot. Flames licked out through the roof. His house, the one he'd built nail by nail, was folding in on itself. Heat hit like a wall. Across the field, the stranger stood still. You do this, Elias shouted. Samuel didn't answer. I said, no. Then why are you watching? Same reason you are. The roof collapsed inward. The front wall dropped like it had been waiting. Inside, the chair Miriam once sat in burst with a quiet puff of fabric. The quilt didn't survive. Elias took one step forward, but the heat pushed back. She left things in there, he said. I know. You knew this would happen? I hoped it wouldn't. Are you still watching me suffer? No. Then what is this? Truth catching fire. Elias turned away from him. I walked toward the barn, grabbed a blanket, soaked it in the trough, covered his mouth. The door frame of the house was splitting from the hinges. The flames hissed. He kicked through it. Inside, it was all heat and orange and falling pieces. He moved to the hearth, to the spot under the board where she kept her small things, where he never looked, not once. He pried it open with the butt of his boot. Fire danced around him. The edge of his coat caught. He didn't stop. He reached into the cavity, pulled something metal, hot, nearly glowing. A tin box, burned on one side, sealed with twine, mostly melted. He staggered back out, coughing, lungs soaked in ash. He dropped to his knees in the dirt, cracked the tin open, letters. He pulled one out, then another, Miriam's handwriting, shaky, small, exact. He flipped one over, to R.A., September 14 to C.M., October 2 to M.R., October 14, dates. Familiar. One overlapped their wedding day. Another was the week she stopped singing. Elias stood, hands shaking. These names, he said. Samuel stepped closer. Do you recognize any? No. They're real. Who are they? People she warned. Elias flipped another, to Lydia. Burn if found. He looked at the next. It had no name, just a piece of ribbon tied around it. She mailed these? Elias asked. Number she hid them. Why? They tell the story. What story? Samuel looked at the house still burning. Yours. Elias walked away from the heat, a box tucked under his arm. They're not addressed to me. She didn't think you'd read them. She was right. Are you reading now? Yes. Then you're changing. Elias didn't reply. He opened the letter for R.A. read one line out loud. He touches the others too. He folded it back. His voice cracked. This was happening while I was home. Yes. To who? Girls from the mill, women from the ridge, anyone with no one to listen to. Elias stared at the fire. She tried to stop it. She did. No one helped her. She asked. She asked me. She asked everybody. The cabin groaned as the last beam fell. Elias looked down at the tin. You saved this? No. Then how? She buried it, beneath the hearth, right under your feet. I stepped over it every day. You weren't looking. I thought she was getting better. She was disappearing. The smoke rose higher. Elias crouched in the field, held the letters like a man holding his own name for the first time. I didn't protect her. No. But she still left this for me. Yes. He pulled one last paper out. It was blank, folded tight, tucked in the bottom. On the back, scrawled in black pencil, one word, dig. Elias stood. There's more? Samuel nodded. Where? Where it all started. Elias turned toward the ridge. The fire burned behind them. This time, he didn't look back. Elias sat on the back step of the barn, tin box in his lap, wind pushing dry leaves across the dirt. His hands were raw from the fire, soot still under his nails. He'd read through every letter but one, the last one, folded tight, sealed with wax. No name on the front, just a date. October 21st. He broke the seal. Inside, just 4 lines. Ink smudged. Her handwriting, but sharper, rushed. He wasn't just watching. He owned them. The governor calls him brother. I call him what he is. Elias stared at the words. His chest didn't move. He stood, walked to the trough, splashed water on his face. It didn't help. He walked back toward the house, but there was no house now. Just ash. He turned toward the field. Samuel stood by the fence line like he always did, waiting, not calling. Elias met him halfway. You knew. Yes. The governor's brother. Yes. She named him. She did. She wrote it like a confession. She wanted it known. Elias held the letter up. She knew him. She was sent to him. By who? Sheriff Hale. Elias didn't speak. Samuel's voice stayed flat. The mill girls, the laundry women, the ones who owed money. The sheriff sent them to keep peace. Peace for who? For men with land. Elias looked down. She was one of them. She fought it, but she wasn't the first, and he wasn't alone. She went quiet after October. She came home shaking. She never told me why. She wanted to, but you were planning the wedding. Elias nodded once. She smiled through it. She stitched through it. He stared off toward the woods. And the brother? Left town after the papers found out. Found out what? That a girl from the coast bit off half his ear. Elias blinked. She lived. Most didn't. Is he still alive? Yes. Where? Hiding. State line. Some call it a retreat. He got a name. You won't find it in print. Say it. Samuel looked him dead in the eye. Malcolm Yates. Elias stepped back like the name stung. He's the one who brought in rail money, he muttered. Yeah. The town built a statue. They did. She spoke his name in a letter. She carved it first. Where? On the post by the ridge trail. I never saw it. You never looked up. Elias folded the paper. Why tell me now? Because it's time. For what? To make it known. To who? Everyone who covered it. Elias's voice dropped. Including the sheriff. Samuel nodded. Especially him. She trusted you. She didn't have a choice. She had me. No, Elias, she didn't. Elias stepped away, breathing hard. I thought I kept her safe. You kept her near. I thought that was enough. It never is. He stared at the trees. She knew he'd never face a courtroom. She wasn't looking for court. She wanted someone to carry it. She left it with you. Elias turned, hands shaking. I want him found, he said. He ain't hiding from the law. I'm not the law. Samuel looked toward the horizon. Then you'll need help. From who? Samuel didn't answer. Footsteps behind them. Elias turned. Lydia stood with a pack slung across her shoulder. Her boots were caked in red dirt. You read the last one?" she asked. "I did." "You ready now?" Elias didn't blink. "Yes." "Then we ride tonight." Samuel looked at them both. "She'd be proud." Elias gripped the letter tight. "She's not done talking." "No," Samuel said. "She just found someone to speak for her." Lydia sat across from Elias on the porch steps, dusk pressing close. Her hands were bare. The journal lay between them. "It was my mother's," she said. Elias looked at it. The leather was cracked, a ribbon frayed at the edge. "She knew about them?" he asked. "She stitched their names into curtains, told the preacher they were saints." "Did he believe her?" "She didn't ask him to." Elias opened the book. The handwriting was tight, fierce, no room wasted. The first page had no greeting, no date, just a list. Ada, Ruth, Clara, Miriam. He looked up. "You saw this before?" he asked. "Not till she died. She left it for you. She hid it in the flour tin." He turned the page. They spoke of nights locked in cellars, of promises made and broken, of babies buried before names were given. He read one line aloud. "He told me I was dirt." Lydia nodded. They all heard that. "She writes about a man. She always called him the carpenter. She says he tried to stop it. He built them a place. She says he lost his arm." Lydia looked toward the ridge. "They cut it off with a logging saw." "Why?" He opened his mouth. Elias closed the journal. "Samuel." "Yes." He helped them. Helped them find each other. Elias held the book close. "Why didn't your mother run?" "She said someone had to remember." He stared at the porch rail. The firelight inside flickered against the windows. "She said silence is survival," Lydia whispered, "but it's never empty." Elias nodded. "No," he said. "It's full of names." Elias followed the ridge trail through the cut brush and silence. The wind had stopped hours ago. No birds, no small rustlings, only the soft crunch of his boots and the faint creak of his pack shifting on his back. The letter still sat in his coat. The journal, too. He didn't reread them. He knew them now. He reached the bend near the top where the pines grew thin and sharp. A clearing opened. At the center stood a tree wider than anything he'd seen near the house, charred at the base, split once up the middle like it had taken lightning and refused to fall. A single rope hung from one low branch, cut, frayed. Samuel sat with his back against the trunk. "You sleep here?" Elias asked. "Sometimes." "Where did it happen?" Samuel didn't move. "Some of it." Elias stepped closer. The bark behind Samuel was etched deep, names carved in circles around the trunk, dozens, some slanted, some straight, all dug in with care. Near the base, a bundle of stones formed a half circle. Inside it, small things, ribbons, buttons, a cracked comb, a bootlace, a coin black with ash, and one folded piece of calico fabric, stained red. "Shrine?" Elias asked. "Grave." "Are they all buried here?" "No." "Then what is this?" "A reminder." Elias walked the circle. Every few feet, another mark, a cross, a name, a pair of initials he'd seen in the journal. He stopped near one, RC. Below it, a second carving. "Forgotten by law, not by us." "You made all these?" "No." "Who?" "They did. Before they left." Elias knelt, touched the ground. "You kept it." "I had to. They call you the Woodcutter." "I used to be." "You still are." Samuel looked at him. "Not with one arm. You cut names." "I will protect them." Elias stared at the tree. "Why this spot?" "They brought Ada here first, after the barn. She was the first. She was the first that stayed." Elias looked back. "You built the cabin with her?" "With all of them." "They cut your arm off here, under that branch. Why not run?" "Because they had nowhere else to go." Elias stood. "They do now." Samuel shook his head. "Too late. Not for Miriam. She's already buried. She's louder now than ever." He pulled the journal from his coat, set it at the base of the tree, next to the red-stained cloth. "She started it," he said. "And you finish it." "No." "Then who?" Elias turned. Lydia stepped into the clearing, pack slung over her shoulder, hair pulled back, face still and sure. "She does," Elias said. Samuel looked at her. "You know what this place is?" "Yes." "You sure?" "I was born near it." He nodded once. She stepped past him, bent down, took a piece of chalk from her coat, reached the tree, found a blank spot, and wrote one word. Enough. Elias didn't speak. Samuel breathed deep. You carry them now? No, she said. I make them see. Elias moved to her side. He reached out, ran his hand along the bark. Below the new word, he carved one more name. Miriam. Not deep, but enough. The letter had no envelope, just a fold tight enough to keep the words from slipping out. Elias found it pressed into the spine of the journal, where the paper had softened with age but hadn't lost its fight. The ink bled in places. Water damage, maybe. Or tears. He sat at the table. What was left of it? A slab of wood dragged from the barn. No house now. Just open sky and ash where the past used to live. He unfolded the letter. Lydia sat across from him. Samuel stood near the doorway. Neither spoke. He read. Elias, if you're reading this, they let you. Or you finally asked. I didn't die from birth. I didn't bleed out in some shack. I ran. I walked into the woods, barefoot with hands shaking so hard I couldn't lace my own dress. But I walked. Anyway, I walked with your name still in my mouth. Elias blinked, hand tightening on the page. I didn't leave because I stopped loving you. I left because I kept loving you and couldn't keep the lie. I was taken, used, then returned, and no one called it a crime. I told Hale. I told the doctor. I told the churchwoman who brings flowers on Thursdays. They said I should forget. They said I was confused. They said I was lucky. Lydia leaned forward. You want me to keep reading? Elias shook his head. No. He cleared his throat. Miriam goes quiet after that, he said. But she picks up again. Right here. He continued. They gave me a cot, a bottle, said I'd feel better soon. I didn't. I stitched because my hands needed to move. I stitched names. Mine. Others. One name I stitched so tight the needle snapped. Malcolm Yates. He looked up. Governor's brother. Lydia nodded. Elias kept going. The child wasn't yours. I wish it had been. I wish you had known sooner. I wish you had asked, but you didn't. I walked to Lydia once, told her half the truth. It was too much for both of us. I forgive her. I forgive you. But I won't let you bury this with a clean headstone. She knew, Lydia said, everything. She carried it alone, Elias said. I said no, Elias. I said no with my fists, with my blood, with my silence. But it didn't matter. They called it consent when it was survival. He folded the letter. She never made it back. He whispered. Samuel spoke. She was coming home. I buried the wrong body. You buried what they gave you. I thought I was honoring her. You were erasing her. Elias stood. Hold the letter tight. She died saying no. He said. Lydia met his eyes. Then we say it louder. Elias laid the revolver on the table like it was part of him. The handle was worn smooth from years of riding, settling disputes with wild dogs or drunk neighbors, but tonight it had weight, not from metal, from names. He opened the box. 6 rounds. He picked up the first. Hold it to the light. Miriam, he said. The second. Clara. The third. Ada. The fourth. Ruth. The fifth. Lydia. He stared at the 6th. Samuel stepped through the barn door. Quiet. One arm still tucked in his coat. You sure? He asked. No, Elias said. Then wait. I waited too long. Samuel stepped closer. This kind of reckoning doesn't have a finish line. I'm not looking for one. Are you planning to kill him? I'm planning not to flinch. Samuel nodded. That's enough. Elias loaded the chamber, one click at a time. Sheriff first. Yeah. You think he'll draw? I hope he does. And the brother. If he's breathing, he won't be for long. What if they beg? They won't. Lydia walked in behind them. Her coat was buttoned wrong. Her face was unreadable. I want to see him fall, she said. You will, Elias said. She stepped beside the table, picked up the shell Elias hadn't named. Who's this one for? Elias didn't answer. Samuel did. It's for him. Lydia looked at Elias. Are you aiming it at yourself? If it comes to that, you think she'd want that? No. Then why carry it? Because it reminds me not to lose control. Lydia put the bullet back. Control's overrated. Elias stood, belted the holster. Samuel nodded once. You ride at dusk. I don't plan to return. No one ever does. Elias stepped outside. The field was gray with dying light. The wind moved low. The trees didn't speak. He walked to the horse, saddled it slowly. No rush. Rage didn't help a thing. It only clouded the target. Lydia mounted her mule. I want to see the sheriff's eyes when he hears her name. You will. And after. We go north. To the cabin? Number to the man with the fake name and the real sins. Samuel stood at the gate. What if it goes bad? It already did, Elias said. He tightened the strap, checked the chamber one last time. Tell me, he said, if this was your story, what would you do? Samuel didn't blink. Same thing. Even if it ends you. Especially if it ends them. Elias climbed into the saddle. The sun dropped lower. He rode, with 5 names behind him, and 1 left ahead. The ground thawed slowly that year. Snow gave way in patches, revealing split roots and hoof-pressed mud like old bruises surfacing on skin. Crows came back first. Then the wind softened. Then the stranger stayed. Elias rebuilt the cabin with quiet hands. No nails screamed. No boards cracked in protest. He used the wood from the barn that hadn't burned, stripped it clean, stacked it precisely. The new floor didn't creak. Samuel never said why he didn't leave. Each morning he brought in more wood, laid it by the door. Some days he chopped it. Some days he just sat beside the stump, one arm resting on his knee, watching the trees like they might confess something. Elias cooked most nights, salt pork, beans, flatbread if they were lucky. They ate by firelight, never facing each other fully, always with something between them. Bowl, cup, silence. Lydia didn't return. Elias didn't ask why. One night in March, Samuel walked in after supper and pulled out his blade. Elias looked up. What's that for? I remember another name. Elias nodded once. There's room. Samuel crouched by the hearth, pressed the steel into the new wood. No ceremony, just care. It took him 20 minutes. Elias never asked who it was. I didn't need to. The name sat quiet between them. M-A-Y. The next night, another. R-E-E-S-E. Elias sipped his drink and stared at the wall while the sound of carving carried across the floorboards. The night stayed cold. Frost hugged the edges of the windows, but inside, the names warmed the air. By April, they'd filled half the space around the fire. You remember all of them? Elias asked one evening. No, Samuel said. Then how do you know? They come back. Like ghosts? Like ache. Elias poured him a drink. Samuel didn't touch it. Still don't drink? Elias asked. Still don't forget. They sat in that stillness. Outside, owls called. Inside, the knife scraped wood. Elias looked at the wall where Miriam's quilt now hung. Smoke had caught the edges, but the center still held. Her stitching is tight. Her needle bleeds dark, not faded. Did she ever say what she wanted? He asked. Samuel paused. She wanted to be believed. She was. Not by you. No. You do now? Elias nodded. Every damn word. Samuel sat back. Then carve. Elias blinked. Me? You remember her too. Elias stood. I walked to the hearth. I took the knife, sat down on the edge of the floor. His hands weren't steady. He pressed in slowly. M-I-R-I-A-M. Below it. One more. L-Y-D-I-A. He looked up. She's still alive. So is her silence. They didn't speak after that. Spring came harder this time. Crocuses near the steps. Meltwater tracing the old well line. But the stranger stayed. Every night, another name. Every night, Elias let him.